Should be ready to go. Good evening, everyone. I'm calling our special meeting to order. I'm Carol Hazelton, and I am one of the Hideout council members. And I would like to do a roll call. So, Chris, are you here? I'm here. Ralph,
I'm here.
I
am here.
Jonathan,
Also here.
and I am here. Before we actually get into our agenda, I would just like to welcome all council members in the council chambers and say how nice it is to see everybody here and encourage everyone to continue to attend our council meetings. And Polly, I will call on you now to explain the procedure for tonight.
Okay, so you are running the meeting. What was decided at the last council meeting was that we have, my understanding, will confirm with the clerk, is we have two applicants that applied who are both council members. The council members will each get, or the applicants will each get 5 minutes to introduce themselves, and then every council member will get 10 minutes to ask the two applicants questions. Under state law, the resigning member, who is the mayor, is also allowed to participate in the interviews and vote if the need arises. So here's that former Mayor Rubin is on Zoom, and so he should also be afforded the ability to ask questions. And then if we are in a situation with a tie, he would be the tie-breaking vote.
Do I need to add him to the roll call?
No, I don't think so. You could, sure.
Okay, Bill Rubin, are you present?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. And then I think I'll leave it to Councilmember Hazelton to conduct the meeting as she wishes. She's the chair. And then at the end, you'll do a vote. And then we have also put together a resolution to basically ratify the vote, to make so that it's clear that that's what the vote was, and then appointing whoever is chosen.
Okay. Right, so we have two candidates, and each candidate has 5 minutes to introduce themselves or make a statement. So I will begin with Councilmember Ralph Severini. And you have 5 minutes, and Alicia, you do have a clock. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure most of you know me, but let me take my 5 minutes and to read this into the official record. When Suzanne and I first saw Hideout nearly 9 years ago, we fell in love with the views and sheer beauty of this place, and we said, this is where we want to make our home. For the last 8 years, I've been a member of either the Planning Commission or the Town Council. And this is the third town that I served on, so I had another 6 years of public service to my Hideout total. My wife Suzanne is here, and my daughter lives close by at the retreat at the Jordanelle. My daughter's a teacher in Park City school system, and our son John, who actually worked briefly for Hideout, is completing his PhD at Georgetown. My own academic background includes 2 master's degrees in both science and business, as well as advanced certifications in risk management. As many of you know, I currently work for one of the most renowned companies in the world, Amazon Web Services, for 6 years. I advise C-level executives, including chief executive officers, chief information officers, and scores of smaller companies every year around the world, speaking at major conferences globally. So if any of you are wondering on how I will be able to do this, I'm leaving my position at AWS in June to concentrate my full efforts on the town and our needs. So now to the point of why I'm really here. One, because I care about each individual and their right to voice their opinion. Let's remember that in an effort to be more open and inclusive, I created and co-wrote the town referendum for the Richardson Flat annexation that allowed everyone in town to cast their vote in the June 2021 election, rather than the town council keeping that vote to themselves. As some of you recall, the town residents voted in favor of the annexation by over a 2-to-1 margin. Also, while I was on the planning commission, I facilitated putting our town engineering code online, which before that was a mishmash of paper and digital files. And so this has been critical in keeping our track of our codes, both old and new. As also, you know, I chair our Economic Development Committee, which oversees anything to do with creating revenue for the town. In addition, Jonathan and I started our Wildfire Mitigation Committee, specifically aimed at reducing risk to wildfire, keeping access to affordable insurance. And in the past, I've also served on our Town Budget Committee and Design Review Committee. So now, what do I want to accomplish as mayor? Some of these include, I want to complete our critical water study so that we understand any exposure we have to insufficient water in the future. And continue to work with the Richardson Flat project, which will be a prime source of revenue for the town while providing a place to shop and have a meal. Based upon Hideout's overwhelming support for our efforts for Ross Creek, I would love to continue to lead that opportunity with the help of the EDC and Planning Commission. This includes having Ross Creek serve as a center for community interaction. I'll work to make our town safer while protecting our viewsheds from overdevelopment, while at the same time keeping our property values high. I'll continue to build a fire-wise community so that we don't fall victim to a fire disaster like we've seen, and work to keep insurance accessible and affordable for all of us. I think I can safely say we all treasure our trails and recreational amenities, and I'll work to keep them a priority as well. Fiscal responsibility has always been crucial to any town, and I'll work to optimize our resources of funds and incorporating more grant writing. I want to build bridges to our surrounding communities, which will hopefully result in more cooperation and fewer lawsuits. And last but not least, I want to create more transparency with our residents, together with creating greater teamwork with the administration and council. So with that, I really appreciate the opportunity and honored to serve Hideout, and I'll do so with my greatest ability. Thank you.
All right, I'll move on to Chris Bear. And go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Chris
Fire, sorry.
like Oscar Meyer.
Oh, okay.
Does not rhyme with Mayor Bayer. So, well, I also appreciate the opportunity, and Ralph, I actually love your presentation. That was really well done.
Oh, well, thanks, Chris. I'm sure you have equally as good.
I don't know that that's true because I have just a bunch of notes. So, I wanted to answer the question of why have I chosen to be considered for interim mayor? And my number one reason is I'm already doing the job. So when former mayor Phil Rubin gave his resignation on April 14th, it was a big surprise. And as mayor pro tem, I had to spring into action rather quickly. I just want to remind the council that I've been serving as mayor pro tempore for limited periods of time for many years. And on July 8th of 2021, you all elected me as permanent mayor pro tem. So during that time, I ran many of the meetings while Phil was absent, trying to enjoy his retirement out of state, or off the grid. And I covered many duties for him. in person in the recent past that he was unable to cover himself. For example, I attended the Hideout Fire Station 56 fundraising open house, including 4 media appearances, including our local media outlets, as well as a live on-air radio interview. I attended the Hay fundraising open house. That was also an in-person event that we wanted the mayor to be part of. And I have, in very recent past, been prepped as mayor pro tem, functioning as the town executive for some Hideout, internal and outside council, litigation strategies that are in the works. So when Phil resigned, which, as I said, was a surprise to me and I think a great loss to the town of Hideout, I had to jump in right away and have a kind of an absurdly busy schedule to try to catch up on the activities that were already in progress. So immediately sprung to action in the first few days with a press release, content and strategy to fill the vacancy. I became immersed in all matters of GCD Shoreline 4, including many issues and challenges that have been discussed in the planning commission meetings. I also became well-versed in the wild horse engineering concerns, had other confidential discussions. Some of those discussions the council has had, one-on-one or two-on-one with our legal counsel. I began attending the Larry H. Miller meetings, reviewing their Silver Meadows project, and I've been to 3 so far. I have worked on accelerating the general plan addendum that we need right now to identify our targeted commercial areas, because I think there's it's a little bit of a Wild West right now. So there was a lot of work. Oh, and also I attended the Animal Services Board meeting, had to vote as a voting member. And I also worked closely with the finance staff on a tentative budget, because it's just so happens that the tentative budget was due in the last council meeting. That's a lot of work for 3.5 weeks. Then the other reason that I'm so interested in this position is I've lived in Hideout longer than most. And Ralph, I know you said 9 years. I'm just a little bit longer. I've actually been here for 10 years. The home that we live in was the 4th one to be completed outside of the few that were available in Rustler at the time and Overlook Village. So neither of those were built out at the time. So I've been here a long time. And I also, the other reason is I have the longest tenure as a current elected official in Hideout. I was elected alongside Phil and Hans Johansson in November 2017. At that time, we only had, 325 registered voters. It was really tiny. Most of them were in Rustler and Deer Mountain Affordable Community. So it was at my dining room table that in May of 2017 that about 8 of us, oh, that's my 5 minutes. Okay, can I just finish the one state?
Yes.
Okay, it was around my dining room table that I assembled, with my fellow residents, just a number of, we got together to decide, well, who was going to try to run in 2017 and then have better representation in the town for people that actually lived here. And we were successful through that meeting of deciding Bill would run for mayor, I run for council, Hans would run for council, and then the remainder of the folks that were at the table were going to help us campaign so that we could effectively take control, local control of the government as residents. So that 5 minutes went really quick. I have lots of other things but maybe they'll come out during the question and answer session. So I appreciate my 5-minute time. And I just want to say that was not long enough.
All right, I'm just blown away by the qualifications of both candidates. It's going to be a very, very difficult decision. Okay, now we're going to move on to the fact that each council member has a total of 10 minutes to ask questions of either or both mayoral candidates. And, all five of us can ask the questions. And I believe, past Mayor Rubin can also ask questions because he's part of this. So I'd like to go first if that's okay. And I have a number of questions, so I'd like to ask you to please try to limit your answers to 1 minute or less so that I can get my questions answered. So the first thing I wanted to ask was, the mayor is a full-time job with our fast-growing community. It's a very difficult job and it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. And how much time can you devote to the job? Because both of you at the moment are still working. So what are your plans in the future? Are you going to continue to work? Or will you retire or resign or whatever? I think Ralph said that he would resign. So Ralph, I'll start with you. So when are you available to be a full-time mayor?
I am negotiating my leave from Amazon Web Services in June. Whether that date is June 1st or sometime in June, we haven't finalized that, but I'm working with the powers to be, so to speak. It will be in June. So, yeah.
And it will be for 4 years. You'll take a 4-year leave.
For your leave.
I'm sorry. I'm
leaving Amazon,
Right,
period.
right.
Dude,
Okay.
you don't
Oh, you're
get that.
leaving permanently.
Yeah, you can't take leaves. I wish I could.
Right.
That would be terrific, but
Okay,
no, my plan is to put it, so I probably work 65 hours a week for Amazon. If I put in 40 plus for the town, that's my goal. Maybe, whatever the town needs, I'm gonna put in just like I do for Amazon. I'm already working 2 jobs,
Right.
in a sense right now, in what I'm doing. So, Hideout will get my full attention.
okay, thank you. And Chris, you are retired?
Yes, I'm retiring. I had made the announcement earlier in the year to my company that I'd be leaving on June 6th. I did agree, tentatively to stay a couple more weeks, if needed to finish out a project that I'm working on. It's very close to finishing.
Okay.
But,
All right,
yeah,
thank
no, it was
you.
always my intent.
Okay, I'm going to move on. I do have a question for Ralph. I know that you've been meeting with a particular developer, you and Jonathan, on your own without notifying the mayor, other council members and staff members. And I'm just curious if you think it's appropriate to meet like that without any notification to anybody else. Ralph, that's for you.
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I think meeting developers is always a good idea if there are areas that we want to improve communications on, reduce lawsuits on, improve the ability to get to a better result for the town. There's always two sides, and we want to get, to the best result for Hideout. And therefore that requires communication. And actually part of the reasons we met is what was on wildfire, because Glenn has actually volunteered as one of the developers, because that's what we wanted. We wanted a developer on the wildfire mitigation committee. So that was the prime reason we had lunch with Glenn, was to discuss how they would take on improving their defensible space in future developments on any of their buildings, and incorporating potentially fire-resistant materials. So that was a committee move to further the efforts of improving their defensible space and fire mitigation. So that's how that began, in a positive way from the committee standpoint, not from a negotiation of a density or anything like that. That was not part of it.
Okay, thank you. Next question. I'm an advocate for a community center. Do you think that a community center is necessary for the town? Ralph? I
would love to have a community center, Carol. I would love it. In fact, that land acquisition that I previewed the council on, and that I'm working with initial conversations with Ben McAdams, former congressman and mayor of Salt Lake, as well as Bill Simmons, who knows the federal move to sell buildings and land, as well as to Mike Lee's staff. Conversations all indicate that this is the time to get some land. The 10 acres we have, we can expand with additional acres. And guess what? It really would look great if we could have a little bit of a restaurant here, maybe some recreational retail, and have a beautiful community center. So Carol, you could have your reading room, and you could have, and we're gonna call it the Carol Hazelton Library.
All right,
So I'm all, listen, I don't know how more I could be all for this. We need money for it. We need public-private partnerships to support that, and we need cash flow. This doesn't come for free, but if we do this right, we'll be able to have a phenomenal location.
all right. Chris, how do you feel about a community center?
I feel the same, that we need a community center. One of the challenges in Hideout is we have no gathering spaces. I remember the only place we've been able to gather, is here, right here in this council chambers. We've had a bunch of events here, but that's not the same thing as a community center. It's not even close. So, I know Ralph was talking about, some strategies are in the future and not in the next 7 months necessarily. So in the next 7 months, what I would do toward a community center would be to work with our developers who have, zoning changes, that in front of us, or anything that they're looking for that would involve, the ability for the council to, negotiate some things. And I would, look for help from those developers, like we've done in the past. That's how we got the Public Works building. That's how we got the 10 acres to begin with. And that's how we got, other assets for the town, was through that method. And that could be done in the next 7 months.
Okay, Alicia, how much more time do I have? Okay, my last question to both of you, so if you could kind of divide it by 1.5 minutes. Is what is your vision for Hideout in the next 10 years? And I'll start with you, Chris.
Oh, thank you. Oh, in the next 10 years, my vision for Hideout is we're going to have hopefully a very robust town center that will hopefully be located, at least in part, in the new Silver Meadows area. That's really where the opportunity is. The big opportunity is for us to, become a self-sustaining town with more revenue generating commercial, sales tax revenue generating commercial things people want. People want to come visit Hideout, how Hideout will become known for. And unfortunately, I think in the next 10 years, we're still going to be building out subdivisions because they take some time. So we'll get that community hub, the town center created. We'll hopefully by then have a new council chambers so that it can fit everyone, since we'll be so much bigger. And we'll get our community center, we'll get the other things we've been looking for. And, we'll have a much more diverse population, including not just people who can buy second homes and live here, but have more of a population of people who can live within the boundaries of Hideout, yet be able to afford a place that they either rent or buy as more of a starter home type situation, so we can have more of a diverse population.
Okay, Ralph?
Well, there's a lot to that because I gave a lot of views and visions as to what I would love to see, but it begins with establishing community interaction, getting people to talk to one another, getting connectivity within the town for, everything from trails to the ability to have a common place to both have an eatery, a place that we can enjoy recreational amenities and improve those over time, all leading to essentially a better place to live, a more cohesive place to live, a more community atmosphere, and taking advantage of all the really wonderful and beautiful things that we have in this town, which include the access to the reservoir, the access to our trails, the access to everything we've kind of created. As to how fast that develops, you know, I'm used to working with developers and commercial or otherwise at this point, so we will work with them to improve the ability to gather equivalent amounts of investment for things like community centers. And yes, we can do that. We can start within 7 months. It's kind of a multi-pronged approach on long-term, short-term, like in any business. And I think that's just a piece of my vision, I would say, Carol.
All right, thank you. All right, I'm going to move on now to Chris, and you have 10 minutes to ask Ralph questions.
Point of order, can I ask myself questions so I can get more of my paper posed? Anyway, think about that.
It'll probably come up.
All right.
I don't think so. All right, so Ralph, what's, if you could tell us, I know you're running for interim mayor, you're not running for 4-year mayor term, that comes up this year. Right, exactly, so we're really talking about the rest of 2025. So what is it during the rest of 2025 that makes you feel like you're the best candidate to take over as interim mayor?
Well, I think I bring a really strong background. I'm the only one here, I think, has spent as long a time on the planning commission as I have. Chris, you didn't spend any time on the planning commission, so that's a really good background for a mayor job. Just like Nan Worrell in Park City, that's how she started out. You have great experience. I also bring experience from 2 other towns that I think kind of qualifies me in a unique way. And so I'm going to bring all those things to bear as to what we're going to do in the next 6 months. I'm not looking at this as a 6-month job. I'm going to run really hard for the next 4 years, for the 4 years from November 4th, because I really think this is the time to change. Chris, you brought in the fact that you've been doing this. Well, I mean, to be very honest with you, this is a good time to change. You've only, you know, if I was a risk manager, I would say you've been doing it for a month. So maybe other times as well. This is the time to make a strategic management change and carry that through not only the rest of the 6 months, but the following 4 years. That will put our town on firmer management footing, a further visionary footing, and all the pieces of the puzzle that I mentioned in my initial 5 minutes, I'm going to start working on. Some more important than others, but that's how I'll bring forward the next 4 or 5 months and the next 4 years.
Thanks for the answer. You're making a big assumption that you would win in the general election to become mayor. I just want you to realize that in your answer. So, all right. So, Ralph, how are you going to handle, I mean, because whoever gets appointed tonight gets sworn in tonight. And I know that you're still negotiating your departure from Amazon Web Services. So, you know, what's your plan for, you know, the time period until that happens? Because, for example, the mayor is responsible for the tentative budget and as well as the final budget to bring it forward. And I took care of the tentative budget. I'm handing you the budget, essentially, if you were to take over as the interim mayor. You know, what would you be doing to prepare that final budget?
Well, I've already been talking to our budget chairman, so to speak, Katie Shepley, on a regular basis. I've been really familiar with budgets on this town. I'm going back to my planning commission days and then as a council person becoming part of the budget committee. So I'm fairly familiar with budgeting and numbers. So there were really not very many surprises on this, and having continual conversations with Katie, I think, as the leader of our budgetary process, and making sure that we're really well prepared on understanding what the risks are over the next year and a half to meeting our revenue and expense goals. And so they will be critical. And I think I'm pretty well prepared with my background to take on those kinds of challenges. And I'll continue to do that. And I'll continue to work closely as mayor on all budgetary items, given my past experience and my past work with the budget committee before Katie ever came aboard. I think if you look at it, if you look at that history, I came on board after Kurt left. And left the town, and I became the key part of the budget committee, and in carrying that over, and then we got Katie on board, and she made a tremendous contribution. And so, I'm just gonna work forward with the people who are experts in this arena and carry the budget in that sense, if I answered your question.
Eventually you did. Yes, you're gonna work with the people that put together the budget. That. Ralph, my number one question, I don't have any question in my mind that you wouldn't be a good mayor. I know you would be a good mayor. I don't believe you'll be the best mayor right now. I think
Is
you
there a
might be a
question?
great mayor. Is there a question there?
Yeah.
How are you planning to handle some of the more controversial developments that are going to be coming at us at the council level? For example, at the planning commission, as you said, you've been on the planning commission, and so you should be very familiar with what's been happening with, let's say, the latest shoreline development. How do you plan to handle that as interim mayor, as it's preparing to come forward for the council?
Well, I listen a lot in my executive meetings to executives from around the world, literally 200 on average on year. I attended I listened to the full context, listened to the entire planning commission meeting, which I've done in the past. Oftentimes I've listened to the minutes if I couldn't be online in person, given my travel situation, which is obviously ending very soon. I'm going to continue in that regard. I have a very close affinity to what goes on in the planning commission, having spent so much time there. And also working with the senior leaders of the planning commission, like Tony, Tony Matisic, who we have regular conversations with. So, and talking to planning commissioners, as well as to the developers and to the council members that we've been doing here on a regular basis. So if you're asking about that, there's really no difference than what I'm currently doing. I would say if I need more time, I'm going to extract that from Amazon. But I'm used to putting in 80 hours a week, Chris. So, if I can take now 50 of those or 40 of those and put it into our town during this transition period over the next few weeks, I'll do that. And I'll make sure there's not going to be anything missing here between my pickup as mayor and all the things I need to learn and understand. And I think I have a really good feel for who everyone is in town. I have a really good feel for our developers. I have a good feel for what development is coming into town. So I'm not going to miss a beat.
You like Shoreline 4?
Do I like it? I mean, I like what, I'm back to listening. I'm gonna listen to what the planning commission has come out with. They voted 5, well, did they vote? They voted, 5-0 so far. Will that even happen? I don't know. But first place I'm gonna look for that kind of information is our planning commission. Every application for any change in the phases of 1 to 9 with shoreline, those changes have to go through the planning commission. I'm going to listen and talk to, and that's exactly why I attended that meeting. I don't make judgments. I'm not going to make a judgment on shoreline phase 4 at this council meeting. That's not my responsibility. And I'm going to have to say that would be a really bad approach to thing by any council person until we get all the information sifted through the planning commission. Then I'll listen to all that information and I'll make my decision at that point in time. But if I'm mayor, I'm also listening to council's view, because you have the vote. Jonathan, Bob, Chris, Carol, you will have the 5-person vote when I'm there. And I'll be listening to your views as well as to the planning commission.
And I have one last question. What do you think the difference is between serving on the council as a voting member and what the mayor does administratively? What are the key differences?
Well, I always told Phil, as to my dealings with other executives at the C level, they're the CEO. They're the administrative chief of the organization, whether it's a large business, whether it's a town. And, you know, Phil's always been, Mayor Rubin, you've always been I want to give Phil his compliment, because he did a really good job as CEO of Hideout. So let me finish with that thought, because you are the chief executive officer, the buck stops here, and the mayor has to be, you know, both detailed and strategic, both knowledgeable of what's going on at the administrative level, but be visionary. And that's the kind of person I want to bring to the table.
Okay, I'm gonna need to stop you, Chris.
That's fine.
And
Thank you.
Ralph.
Appreciate the time.
Okay, I will move on now to Ralph, and you may ask your questions of Chris.
She already asked some of the questions that I want to share with the town and with my fellow council members. And so I don't really have anything to ask Chris.
Okay, then I will move on to Bob. And you have 10 minutes to ask questions of either end of it.
Duly noted. Hey, Chris, I'll start with you. I see that big stack of paper there. You didn't get halfway through your presentation. Let me see if I can help you out right there. Hey, can you go on this, maybe explain a little bit more, your education and your business background, so I can have a better understanding of where you're coming from?
Okay. I have, I'm gonna say 10 years of college, 4 years undergrad, 6 years graduate. I was working on a PhD at Yale University, which I did not finish, I'll admit, but, so I have lots of education. I have extensive education, and I wanna thank my parents for paying for my undergraduate education, and then I was able to get fellowships for them. So my background is I've spent the last 25 years or so as a technical project manager, mostly in information technology. I've worked for software companies, traveled extensively, working on site, implementing very large computer systems in organizations such as hospital networks, or, you know, retail manufacturing. Since moving to Utah, I worked for an airline, so highly regulated, as you know, highly regulated business, and I worked in information technology, primarily in customer support, but you know, even customer support and systems that are critical to the operations of the airline. And then, and in the last, the job I'm currently in is I work for a bank, a regional bank, and I also work in the enterprise technology organization. So more technology. So very, I'm not personally an engineer, like a software engineer or hardware engineer, but I run the projects that the experts deliver on. So that's my current background. That's my professional background. I have plenty of meetings with all kinds of levels of people, from the C-level all the way down to, you know, your business analyst or even your assistant. I can work with all levels of organization, and my career has been spent on delivery. So if there's a project, we define the scope, we figure out how to do it, we do it, and then we wrap it up. So start to end on project delivery.
Sounds fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a world I'm not privy to. And in the course of doing that, when you were project manager, roughly, how many people did you have under you that you were in charge of?
So this is the funny thing. I had, from an HR standpoint, 0. But every single person that worked on one of my projects was an indirect report.
Okay.
So I had to lead them through influence rather than the hammer of being the HR manager being able to fire someone. So I've had to use through my whole career influence in order to get things done. And I found over time, you know, with, I guess, proper development of teams and, you know, exhibiting expertise and competence that people will follow you, even if you're not the one who could fire them.
Yeah, it's true. And in the course of doing any of this, were you ever in the role of, I guess, what we call a C-suite executive?
Oh, no,
Okay.
No.
Neither was I.
neither was I. But this doesn't demand C-suite executive at the municipal town level, especially a town of our size. You don't need a C-suite executive here. You need an executive who is competent, able to develop the team, able to deliver on what the town needs to do. And remember, towns are here for 3 basic reasons: shared infrastructure, sense of community, and also local control. And so those are things that I'm quite comfortable with, especially since I've been involved in that now for, this is my 8th year inside Hideout as an elected official council member. So I don't find that I need a C-suite title to be an executive of a municipality.
All right, and is Hideout the only government organization you've been involved with?
Yes, that's kind of the beauty of it. I am homegrown, we'll call it. When I first moved to Hideout, I didn't say, or when I first moved to Utah, I didn't say, hey, I want to get involved in local politics. No, I just want to live my life and enjoy where I live. But it organically developed here because when we first came to Hideout, again, fourth house outside of the 2 subdivisions I talked about. And, you know, as a mountain biker, I wanted to be able to get on my bike and without getting in my car and go ride on a trail like I was so used to in Park City and Summit County. That's one of the reasons I moved there to begin with. And there was no such thing. And so I got involved originally because I was asked by the former mayor and worked with members of the former council prior to Phil's term. And we together developed all of the existing trails that are public in Hideout, and they're all in Jordan State Park.
And I love them. All right, thanks. And Ralph, similar questions to you, just getting into a little bit of a deep dive. You mentioned you had 2 master's degrees and all that. And then in the course of your work life, just wondering, like managerial type positions.
Well, I've been at the C-level, and everything from chief development officer, business development officer, to chief marketing officer for some technology and financial companies down in the Wall Street area. But, you know, I've also been in the trenches. I've actually done trench work, so to speak. And I would say, if you have a choice, it would be better to have someone who has both tactical and detailed experience, as well as the ability to work with C-level folks. And that is because, you know, at one level, you're able to converse with other C-levels and command credibility and respect. And I think that's incredibly important as our town evolves, and we're going to be dealing with new entities. And those include not just developers, but those include companies that are going to come in here, you know, maybe a Starbucks. You have to be able to, you know, work with an executive at that level and immediately establish credibility as they're negotiating whether they would like to choose us or Camus or something. So part of that is, part of the ability to have that experience, I think, having reflected on both sides of my life and other people like myself, I would just say that's incredibly important, will bear fruit for our town going forward.
Sounds good. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have. I feel like I know you both. So, really, I guess the questioning would be maybe for the public that's watching, but, I have nothing further. I yield the balance of my time. If I could do that.
Okay, Jonathan, you go next.
Well, as Bob pointed out, I know both of the candidates fairly well, haven't been around as long as they have, but I've worked with both of them. So at this point, I don't have any questions, so I would pass to Mr. Rubin there and allow him to go ahead while I think about questions.
Okay,
Sure. Okay.
Bill, you are, up to ask your questions.
I understand passing the questions is inappropriate. I should be going at the end is my understanding.
He is at the end, right?
Pardon?
Phil
Yeah.
said he should be going at the end.
Yes,
This is the end, Phil.
this is the end because I believe Jonathan, you passed it
He
to Bill.
passed.
Right,
Yes,
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought he was just getting some thoughts together. So my name's Phil Rubin. I'm the former mayor of the town of Hideout. I want to remind the council that when I became mayor, I had no municipal experience. There were two employees when I became mayor. The town was grossly under staffed as far as being able to manage the kinds of issues and growth that the town has been experiencing over the last 7+ years. We worked hard, the prior council and the current council. We've brought in really capable staff members. I think they've shown that they're more than capable of running this town on a regular basis. Their talent, their abilities, their backgrounds and skills provide, I believe, all the know-how needed to guide whoever becomes mayor, as well as any new members of council in all the activities that need to be managed by council members and mayor. So I remind everyone to keep that in mind. There's a great team behind you, and you should use it. So that's not really a question, but that's a comment. I don't have any questions to ask either candidate. I just ask that you recognize that I believe there is a long-standing proven process where the mayor and the staff represent the executive portion of the relationship in government, and the council members, the legislative. And there's a reason for that. That model works, historically works. It's how government is run almost everywhere in the United States. And so the role of the mayor, I think, is much more focused on ensuring that the executive portions of the town run well, that that the staff is delivering the information required by council to have the information they need to make good decisions around the various issues that come to council, be it ordinance, law, development, etc. So, I've spent 7+ years of my life working on this. And think that what we've been doing or have been doing up until the time that I was necessary for me to leave, for personal reasons, I thought we were doing pretty well. So, I encourage whoever is selected to not throw the baby out with the bathwater. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Since everyone has asked their questions, I'm going to call for the vote. And I want to remind the candidates that they cannot vote for themselves. So I'm going to start with the two candidates and have them determine whether or not they choose to vote or abstain from the vote. So I'll start with Chris.
Well, since I'm here fighting my case to become interim mayor, I'm going to abstain from voting.
All right. Ralph.
Yeah, Carol, I will echo that sentiment, and I'll abstain as well.
All right. I will then go to Bob and ask you how you vote.
Well, before I cast my vote, I just want to say that what we're voting on is the ultimate summer job. But it may very well likely turn into over a 4-year deal. So this will be much more interesting than flipping pizzas and burgers as a summer job. Both of you, impressive, very, very well qualified. And I would be happy working with either of you as mayor. And I think either of you would serve the town very, very well. So it really comes down to how do we vote? We have to look at background and experience. And again, both of you have very nice background, very nice experience. But since I have to pick one, I'm gonna have to vote with Ralph based on the background experience.
All right. Jonathan, I will go to you next.
Well, Bob's right. We have two qualified candidates. But the question is not which one is qualified, because they obviously both are. The question is, which is better qualified for the challenges, the problems, the issues that are facing Hideout? And based on background and experience, I'm gonna vote for Ralph.
All right. I have the final vote, and I just want to state that it looks like whoever wins, I will pledge my full support as a council member. So at this point, because I think Chris has had the experience as being interim mayor, not just this past month, but many other times as well, and has been so involved with the town, I would cast my vote for Chris. But because there are 3 of us voting and 2 of you have voted for Ralph, therefore Ralph is going to be our interim mayor. And I just hope that everyone on the council will get behind him and follow, what he has in store for us. And both of you have just been incredible candidates. It's been very difficult. So at that point, we have now chosen an interim mayor, and that is Ralph Severini. And I guess we are through with this meeting.
So what we'll do is we have a resolution to just basically ratify the vote, which Alicia has up for you. So she would fill in Ralph Severini there. And
I'll fix this.
so basically it just reflects that that was the vote of the council. And so I would ask you to have a motion to adopt resolution, whatever number it is.
I think it's gonna be number 8.
So 2025-R-8. So I'd ask someone to make a motion and second it and have the council vote
So
on.
moved. I'll second it.
Okay, we'll call for the vote. Jonathan,
Yes, as long as we fill in Ralph's name in the blank.
She did it up top. She's filling it in now.
I see a
Attorney on duty.
I see a blank in the last whereas.
Yeah, I'll get the rest.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
that's what
yes,
she
as long as
said.
we fill in the blank.
okay, Ralph,
Yes,
Bob,
Yes,
Chris,
Yes.
and I am a yes. So it is unanimous that our resolution has passed and Ralph Severini is our new interim mayor.
my first words out of my mouth are, I'm so.
You have to be sworn in. There's.
Can I say anything? Okay. Do I need to be sworn in right now?
We have it on the agenda just for you, Ann. Would you like to be sworn in right now?
You might as well do it because I'm in person, right?
Yeah.
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Want to stand up?
Sure
Come to
can.
the front.
Need the exercise.
All right,
Legs long
if you
back
want to raise your right hand, please, and repeat after me. I state your name,
I, Ralph Severini,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of the State of Utah,
the Constitution of the State of Utah,
and that I will discharge the duties of my office
and I will discharge the duties of my office
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Congratulations.
So we share.
Okay.
Thank you. And-
So I believe we have covered everything we need to cover in this meeting, so I will call for a motion to adjourn our meeting.
So moved.
Okay,
Ralph, you were about to say something.
Oh.
Should we have an opportunity?
right, I'm sorry.
Just a few brief words from the new mayor. I would like to
That would
hear.
be great, okay.
I don't know if, I would love to say a couple of words. We can keep it on the record or off the record and close the meeting, but I mean, I'm honored, number one, to have Chris running against me and having done such a fantastic job. So first of all, I want to say kudos to someone who I've always appreciated. We just, we may have different styles, but I think we all want the same result. So thank you, Chris. And I don't know, Mayor Phil, if you're still on, I can't think of a better person that I've worked with, and you've imparted some great things to me in the past. So I'm hoping that, in the next few months, I can establish the trajectory from which we're going to move on in this town. But I expect a few months of campaigning here as well. So all I can say is I'm looking forward to this, and I'm not looking forward to it at the same time. And thank you for my wife for allowing me to do this as well, as we all have our significant others. So I'll end it there. Nothing official, except we do have a vacancy. And we need to make sure, Alicia, on the June meeting, that comes up first. And we get the requisite materials out on the web and the notifications for anyone who wants to fill the spot. So that would be my first order of business.
Okay.
Thanks, Alicia.
Do you want to clarify the vacancy
Well-
rules?
Right,
I mean, so it has to be done, I think, within 30
30 days
days, and there needs
from
to
now.
be 14 days notice.
Right.
So it can happen at the next meeting. I think that works.
Yeah.
Right, today is the 5th, is the,
today's the
12.
12th.
Today's the 12th,
so
Yeah,
if
one-
you,
month till our June meeting.
no, so,
So then,
when
Yeah, the June meeting is an early one this time.
so
But
I
we
thought it
still
was
have,
June 12th.
we still have
We need to make sure that it is within 30 days
oh, you're right.
of
it's June
today.
12th.
That's a very good point. So if it's not, then we will need to call a special meeting to go through a similar process, so that we do that within 30 days of today.
Well, ideally, I think from my point of view, from our point of view, we'd want to have someone,
the 11th is 30.
that we would get right away for the next meeting, and that would be an early piece of business, so we talked about that separately, but yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get this out, and so we fill this empty position here.
And we can do it as quickly as
14 days from.
14
notice.
days. So if you want it, maybe Alicia will send out a doodle poll to make sure that we can have a quorum. And ideally, everyone to be picking the next council member.
Yeah, I don't know, first of all, I'd poll the council and say, do we want a special meeting just for that? Because we're not gonna be able to do anything with that person until that person is part of the next meeting. So if we take care of that piece of the business, repeat first part of the next meeting, we wouldn't have to have a special meeting.
I know,
What's
but
the-
you
what's
have
the
to do it within 30 days from
More than 30
today.
days.
And the problem is that, Wednesday, June 11th is 30 days from today. So under state law, you need to put that person into effect within.
So if
30
we move the notification date out 2 weeks, then would that fall into the timeframe of
So you have
having a special meeting?
Well, you have
to have
two,
special-
you have two timeframes you need to work with. One is you have to appoint someone within 30 days
Of today.
of today.
Which is by the 11th, and our
By-
next
by
meeting
June.
is on the 12th, so we have to have a special meeting. The question is, do we want to wait till the day before to appoint somebody, or do we want to try to get somebody in sooner so they have a time to review the packet like the rest of us and make some educated decisions on the 12th meeting? So I would say we would try to get somebody in sooner than that, so notice, ideally maybe the week before, so they can review the packet just like the rest of us. The week before would be the right timing in my mind to fill the vacancy.
If it pleases the council, if it pleases the new mayor, there's probably lots of very this community ceases to, what's the word I'm looking at? It impresses me. Never ceases to impress me. So we probably have a lot of qualified people who would probably like to step up. How will they be noticed? Would it be an email blast or both, the town letter?
Yeah, so just legally, I have to put it on the public notice website, our website, and then just do our physical 3 postings, just like I did for the mayor. I'm sure that we'll put it in the newsletter that's coming out as well. So we'll get some communication out there.
Well, I'm good for as I was just trying to reduce the number of meetings that we had to have, so to speak, and if we can do that, but if we can also coordinate it with any other special meeting, it's something that we had talked about previously, so then there's some coordination, but, because people are still busy, so. But whatever we can do to make this a coordinated activity with a meeting that makes sense for Bob travels. I'm still working, hopefully that will end soon, but
Don't ruin my night in Paris.
yeah, exactly. Okay,
So Alicia, will you get the notification out tomorrow?
Yeah, I can do it as early as tomorrow, which means that the earliest meeting we could have would be on the 28th. Is my calculations, is that?
Yeah, that's about right. 20,
It'd be my recommendation to get somebody in as quickly as possible so they have a chance to get ramped up. We have a lot of business on June 12th.
Right. So, but we have to notice it for at least 14
14
days
days,
prior. which
right.
puts
So if
us-
it goes tomorrow, then 14 days prior would be the 27th. So 28th.
So anytime after the 28th, including the 28th, we can have our special meeting. Is that
Yes.
correct?
So,
doodle works for me.
okay, great. I'll get that
Do
out.
doodle.
I'll get that out tonight.
Okay, thanks.
All right. I believe we have covered everything that we need to. Is that correct, Holly?
I believe so.
All right, so I will call for a motion to adjourn this special session.
So moved.
Second,
Okay. I will poll the members. Jonathan,
Yes?
Ralph,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. All right, stand adjourned.
Thanks, Chris.
Chris,
You haven't worked for Amazon yet.